At this point, I would like to recognize Mr. Swalwell for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Lummis. And I did want to go back to, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, I was interested by the President's challenge last night when he referred to how we can cut in half energy consumption in our homes and our businesses. And before coming to Congress, I was a local city councilman, and I worked very closely in local economic development projects. I know that many commercial buildings, that the business owners did want to take measures to make their buildings more energy efficient so they could reduce their own costs and also help make the earth more healthy and our country less dependent on foreign sources of oil. But it would always have to pencil out. It would always have to make sense financially. And oftentimes, not just in my district but across the country, I've heard that commercial buildings and even homeowners have had a tough time connecting to the grid and working with public utilities. In the United States, there are approximately 5 million commercial buildings, approximately 72 billion square feet of commercial buildings. And commercial buildings consume about 19% of all energy in the United States. So my first question, and I'll ask Mr. Szymanski, is there an opportunity for us to have commercial buildings working better with public utilities to connect to the grid, where we can install clean energy type technology on these buildings to make them more energy efficient, reduce their consumption, and also create more made in America jobs? So how do we approach that challenge? Is it something we should be considering as a national energy policy rather than region by region, state by state, if our President is issuing sort of this national challenge?
I think there are lots of opportunities in the building sector for improvements in energy efficiency. And I like to think of it that way because it's something that consumers can do for themselves in terms of saving money on their energy purchases. The opportunities for improvements in the efficiency of heating and air conditioning equipment is something that EIA has tried to build into our forecasts. Mr. Swalwell, we have a number of surveys that we do, and EIA is the only group that's seriously undertaking to survey commercial buildings, residential buildings, and manufacturing facilities for their energy use. We actually, the commercial building energy survey that we are working on right now, and we'll be sending people out into the field in the next few months, will provide a baseline to be able to answer some of these questions that you've raised. It's a rather expensive part of what EIA's budget represents, but it's supported by numerous people in the private sector, including electric utilities and the commercial building owners themselves, because they like to see how their numbers stack up against the averages. I think there are tremendous opportunities, not just EIA, but virtually every other research group that's ever looked at the opportunities finds that now that we've moved as rapidly as we have on light-duty vehicles, the next best place to find energy efficiency savings in the U.S. is likely in the buildings area.
Great. And Ms. Jacobson, do you care to weigh in on this? I bet you could also inform us.
Well, first of all, thank you for the excellent question. And I think data on commercial buildings is essential. And there's an initiative called the Better Buildings Initiative, which brings all the players together, including utilities, building owners, financiers, to come together to both increase awareness, discuss financing models, and try to overcome some of the barriers, the split incentives you were describing that exist between building owners and building users. But I would like to point out that we have had some success due to increased building codes and standards, both at the state level and federal action as well. Energy Star's certified commercial building floor space has increased by 137.9% from 2008 to 2012. And the stringency of building air conditioning efficiency standards has increased by by 34% since 2005. I mean, clearly there's more that we can do, but as you've said, there's tremendous potential here. And I think there is a real partnership between utilities, building owners, government, and data providers, as well as financiers, to really unlock that potential.
Great. And I believe not just to make us more energy efficient, which I think is our primary goal, but also to create local good-paying jobs and clean energy.
Well, very, very much so. When you're talking about energy efficiency, I know people have used this saying, but these jobs can't be outsourced.
Right.
And a lot of the equipment is, we have an innovative edge in the United States on a lot of the building management technology, a lot of the equipment, and significant insulation that's manufactured here in the United States. So, I mean, the opportunities are abound.
Thank
Great,
you
thank
so
you.
much, Ms. Jacobson, and thank you, Mr. Swalwell. I will now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Weber.